Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This story was sent to me by a viewer of this channel. Fortunately, she told a friend about the person that she was chatting to online, and the friend realised what my viewer was already starting to suspect, that she was actually talking to a scammer. My viewer said, "I met Aaron in April 2020 on Mingle, a dating app. We introduced ourselves and started chatting. He then suggested to go to email, which I did, and then Hangouts." If you've watched any of my previous videos, you should see two things from those sentences. Firstly, that my viewer was looking to make a connection with someone because she was on a dating app, so her first thoughts weren't, is this a scammer, but do I like this person? And secondly, the suggestion that they moved to email and then to Hangouts, a classic scammer technique before their fake account is deleted. My viewer continued. He told me he was 68, originally from Pennsylvania, but working in Dublin as an international aid worker. He'd lost his wife and daughter many years ago in a car crash. She said, "I'll just say, at this point, I had never heard of romance scammers. Seriously." So, she said, I sympathised and told him my story. "I'm 54, live in," and my viewer told me where she lives, and divorced for 3 years. Anyway, all was going good. We video called and spoke for around 6 months. At this stage, when I was making the video, I contacted my viewer to ask her what she meant when she said that they video called. I suspected that he used the classic scammer trick of playing her short videos and then making excuses for why his camera wasn't working properly. This was her reply. "Yes," she said, "we video called and it was him. It was his voice. It was a robotic voice, if you get what I mean," which makes me think that the scammer was using voice changing software. My viewer sent several photos of the man she believed she was talking to. I've blurred out his face because, despite my viewer's assurance that she was actually video calling the real person, I'm still not 100% convinced. My viewer, though, is convinced, and so this is a warning that there are scammers everywhere. Back to the story, and my reader continued. "We exchanged pics, and love was never mentioned. Then, all of a sudden, it was. I was very flattered, and ashamed to say that I had developed feelings for this man." That's nothing to be ashamed of. My viewer was, after all, on a dating app, so she was trying to find someone to form a connection with. And obviously the scammers know that, and they know that potential victims found on dating websites may be vulnerable to their stories. "So," she continued, "we talked about meeting up at Christmas. I invited him to come over. This, luckily, didn't happen, as the country where my viewer lives closed all the borders on the 22nd of December. I doubt he would have come anyway," she added. It seems that our scammer took the Christmas invitation as a signal that things were going well and started to consider how to move in for the kill. If you've watched my videos, you might have noticed that I will often start inviting the scammers to come over fairly early on in the scam. I don't want to spend months talking to scammers, so my girls usually invite them over fairly early, asking them if they can get leave or saying how lovely it would be to meet them. "A couple of weeks after," my viewer continued, "he sent me a message asking me for 5k to get his construction certificate renewed, as he had the chance of a job in the Gulf of Mexico, something to do with oil rigs. I refused," said my viewer, "and asked him had he no savings, private pensions, etc. He said no, and then went on to say that when his wife had cancer, it cost him everything." Says my viewer, "I thought she died in a car crash. Red flags are waving at me now. He was relentless in his ways of trying to get me to send money, which I wouldn't. So I told my close friend. 'He's a bloody scammer,' she said." My viewer has long since deleted most of his messages, but she did have the one where he asked her for money, so she sent it to me, and here it is. "Sweetie," he started. You got to get that old scammer classic in there somewhere. "Sweetie, it took me a while to get this, and now I'm a step closer to getting this contract, and it makes me happy and worry less. The contract involves me to make supplies and instalments of heavy-duty rigs machine in the Gulf of Mexico. If everything goes as planned, I will be awarded the contract in no time, so I can get to work. This will definitely get me back on my feet if I'm given the contract, and I'm positive, but I'm facing a little setback at the moment. My certificate, CCM, that I will have to tender to the company has expired, and I need to renew it, and I've been looking for ways to renew it for days, but no avail, and this CCM, Certified Construction Managers, is what I will still use overseas to see out the contract. And here we go. Sweetie, to renew the CCM certificate cost about £8,000, and I've been able to raise £3,000. I've spent a lot on getting this contract, and I can't lose it because of this certificate, so I need you to lend me the £5,000 needed to get my certificate, and I promise to send it to you back when I start working at the golf. If this wasn't important, I wouldn't ask for your help. Please come through for me. I love you. Don't they always when they want money? And in case you're wondering how much a CCM certificate actually costs, here are the costs from the Construction Management Association of America. Recertification cost $200. Once my viewer started questioning the scammer, he did, of course, come up with all kinds of excuses for why what she was saying was wrong and what he was saying was right. I'll read you some of them, and then we'll analyse what he'd said. I think you'll start to see some of the techniques that the scammers frequently use when their stories are questioned. About my pension, he said. I told you, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and I spent a lot to have her treated. I ran into debts by paying for medical bills and new cancer treatments trial. I didn't say it was the cancer that killed her. She and my only daughter died in a car crash a few years ago. Julie, the money mule, is a colleague of mine. There's nothing much to that, and if she could help me, she would. I have never lied to you. You misunderstood me sometimes, and that breaks my heart. That last sentence is classic scammer emotional blackmail, trying to turn the tables on you and making you feel guilty for not believing the stories they're telling you. My viewer accused him of hassling her for money and questions the details of the account that he gave her. His reply was, firstly, I apologise if you feel I'm giving you hassle over this money. It's not my intention. I gave you that bank details because I can't receive money in my own bank account because of my debts. I also brought up an idea of you buying crypto and sending to me, and that way you will be sending it directly to me. I know you have to think about yourself and your future, but I want you to know I see a future between us where we live happily ever after. I know you can find a way to help me, and I promise to pay back when I start to work. You were all I have. If this wasn't important, I wouldn't be bothering you about it. Several red flags in there, of course. One being that he says he's previously asked my viewer to send him money in cryptocurrency. The scammers don't want you to pay them in crypto because it will go directly to them. They want you to pay them in crypto because it is totally untraceable, and there is no way that you would ever get your money back, nor would you ever be able to find out who you've sent it to. And then, of course, the emotional blackmail, seeing a future together where they can live happily ever after, and saying, if it wasn't important, I wouldn't be bothering you about it. My viewer then asked how much in debt he was. I owe about £135,000, he said, and I'm required to pay £3,500 every month, which I haven't paid for October, and I'm running out of time. I hate that I'm telling you this. It's shameful, and I don't want you to feel pity for me. Another classic scammer technique. They will frequently tell you how ashamed they are to ask you for money, or how embarrassed they are to have to ask you. Back to the story, and my viewer's friend has just told her that she's talking to a scammer. I was horrified, she said, but decided to play a game. We searched online for him. Nothing. Reverse search images. Nothing. I had his address in Galway. Nothing. Although I will say I Google mapped his house and the front windows did marry up with pics he sent. Anyway, I messaged and told him, yes, I'll send you the money. Will you provide me with your bank details, a screenshot of your driver's licence and a passport? That's turning the tables on the scams, isn't it? It's usually they who are asking you for those things. He sent me back bank details of a woman who lived in Barnet, all her details, and I'm sure you know what I mean. I do know what she means, because she sent me a screenshot, and it was the details of a money mule. I won't reproduce them here. It's frightening, she continued, to think that she was willing to participate. I refused, and he phoned me, and the abuse was terrible and frightening that he could turn so nasty. He's blocked now and haven't had anything for 5 months. She finished by saying, "These are my questions which hopefully you can answer. These questions I've only thought of since watching your channel, and you've mentioned in your videos. 1, I think I was groomed," and my answer to that was that she almost certainly was. 2, I think he was using a voice changer. That's quite common, and people don't realise that scammers can do that, but they can. So a female scammer can sound male, and a male scammer can sound female. And if you listen to any of the videos about Alistair Leslie the slime ball, I'm fairly sure that he was using a voice changer. She says, 3, I feel like reporting this woman to the Nationwide Bank in Barnet. I always report the bank accounts of money mules if I can. And 4, why did it take 9 months to ask for money? Well, the answer to that, I suppose, is that he was an experienced scammer and he was prepared to take as long as it took. And it seems to me, from the little that this lady told me, that it was when she invited him for Christmas that he started to think that she was taking him seriously, and started to think that if he asked her for money, she would come through. She finishes by saying, "Hope I haven't bored you too much with this essay, and keep up your excellent content on your channel." I'm sure we haven't found her story boring, and thank you very much. It always makes me feel warm and fuzzy when I know that somebody enjoys my work. In her last email to me, my viewer said, "I'm going to be honest with you now. I'm not dealing with this very well, and I'm the kind of person who likes to get to the bottom of things, and it's just not happening. I'm racking my brains constantly about him, and why, oh why, was I so dumb? Why did I let him make me feel this way?" And this, of course, is the true outcome that many of the scammers have on their victims. I often make light of the conversations in my videos, but if you're a real person looking for love, it's easy to fall for their stories, and it's easy to blame yourself. But you shouldn't. It isn't your fault. The scammers know how to make you fall for their lies. They know how to reel you in, and they know how to play their victims. I hope that making this video will help bring my viewers some kind of closure. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like it, please share it, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again in another Keep Safe on the Net video on YouTube.